that we're recording. You're all fine with that, that we put the recording of the presentation on school? Okay, thank you. So I am going to share my screen with you because, well, the topic is HRV, and I made this presentation in school, actually. So share here. You may want to, I don't know if you're on your phone or on your computer, but it will help if you have a bit of screen space. All right, here we are. So it's already in school, and I'm going, of course, to also put the recording of this presentation on school itself so that you can review. And I can make the screen a bit bigger, hopefully. Yes. So is it all visible for you? Readable?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, so we're going to talk about HRV, and I started, of course, to look in the databases, so the medical databases, PubMed, and everything. And I found this research on the analysis of heart rate variability on implication of different factors. And let me quickly go through it because I have to go a bit of theory, and then after that, I'm going to show you a little video that you can place in the context of the video. So basically, the heart is the central organ of the circulatory system, which maintains the flow of blood along with the transport of nutrients to different cells and tissues. A well-functioning cardiac state is a complicated mode of changeability, and that's what we are talking about today. A healthy heart is not only about oscillation, also a rhythmometer is not the same in every circumstance. And heart rate shows variations so that it can be regulated according to physiological conditions to maintain the effect of the internal external stimulus. And the variation in time between two heartbeats, that's called HRV. So it is one of the indicators of many pathological conditions related to cardiovascular health. It provided reliable information about the interaction of, and here it comes, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. So on this, this is just, I took this from Google. This is just an example of heart rates, and then you see in milliseconds the variability between the heartbeats. And well, then it continues. The texts I have here are from the research. In human-based studies, it's found that a higher level of HRV is associated with a good or healthy condition and an indicator for well functioning of the cardiac system, which is a bit weird because it means that when you have a higher variability, it means you're healthier. From basic regarding the functioning of the cardiac system. And here it goes, because this is the interesting thing that probably explains. The sympathetic nerves are part of the autonomic nervous system that control the fight or flight response. So that's what I learned. The sympathetic nerves are related to your fight or flight response, preparing the body for action during stress or fear. And they originate in the thoracic and the lumbar regions of the spinal cord, which means they're not from the brain, but they're from your spinal cord. So it's totally what you do without your will or your knowledge. And they lead to sympathetic ganglia, which are located near the spinal cord or closer to the organs. So it's all reacting from within the body. It's your brain, and it's not even related to it. When activated, they increase heart rate. So that's the sympathetic nerves of the autonomic nervous system. So they increase, the sympathetic nerves increase the heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, while delivering blood to muscles and away from non-essential functions like digestion. So basically, that is what I translated to. That's what we do with intense HIIT training, interval training. That's all the kind of fight or flight response that we need from our body. And then on the other hand, The parasympathetic nerves are part of the autonomic nervous system that promotes the rest and digest state. So they're helping to calm the body down after stress, conserve energy, and regulate involuntary functions like heart rate, digestion, and breathing. And that's important. Heart rate, digestion, and breathing. That comes later in the presentation because that relates to how to measure your HRV. And the parasympathetic nerves, they work in opposition of the sympathetic nerves, which trigger the fight or flight response. So the main functions of parasympathetic nerves include decreasing your heart rate, blood pressure, stimulating digestion, constricting pupil, pupils, and increasing urine secretion. Now, let's take the next step. So the HRV, so basically the HRV you measure with your Garmin watch is influenced by various variables, such as pathological, physiological, environmental factors, lifestyle factors, genetic factors. So the HRV is not just influenced by physical exercise and fatigue. What it says here is it is influenced by a lot of variables and parameters. So then I was here and I thought, hey, let's search for something now that relates HRV with overtraining. And I found this article in Sport Health of 2022, diagnosing overtraining syndrome, a scoping review. And I'm not going to, of course, not the whole research, but the result is that the search yielded more than 5,000 results, and 39 were like eligibility criteria. And additionally, basal hormone, neurotransmitter, and other metabolic levels, hormonal responses to stimuli, psychological questionnaires, exercise tests, heart rate variability, there you go, it's part of it, immunological parameters, muscle structure, body composition were reported as potentially diagnostic for OTS. OTS, the overtraining. Yes, the overtraining syndrome. So that's a lot of variables that basically determine your overtraining. It's not just HRV. Conclusion, specific hormones, neurotransmitters, metabolities, well, electrocardiographic and immunological patterns, that has to do with all the inflammation things we discussed before in this group, were defined as potentially diagnostics for OTS, reflecting in a multi-systematic nature. Combination of these variables, and then they say, very careful in the research, may be required to diagnose OTS. So what I found is they are very cautious by saying, hey, as soon as there is a measurable HRV, then you can connect all kind of conclusions for being overtrained or having having the overtraining syndrome, OTS. And now I looked at Google, and basically what Google says is a high HRV or a low HRV can mean general indicates good. So a high HRV generally indicates good physical, mental health, efficient recovery, and a balanced nervous system. And if you take that in perspective of all what they found on just this research, that's not really correct, because there are many more other factors that determine the things they say here. And a low HRV can be a sign of a body that is under stress from factors like intense training, poor sleep, illness, or emotional stress. A consistent low HRV can also be linked to various health conditions. So in the context of the research that you have here, it is a bit a bit straightforward, a bit cutting corners conclusions. What you find in our public information. Key things to remember: your HRV is very personal. So the most meaningful comparison is with your own historical data to see how your body is responding to your lifestyle or to sports and running and everything. What influences HRV is influenced, then they say here, by many factors, including stress, exercise, sleep, diet, alcohol, and illness. And it is not a diagnosis. And I thought that was the most important thing, because while a useful metric for tracking how your body is handling stress, it is not a medical diagnosis. So it should be used in conjunction with other physiological and pathological factors. So I try to, this is funny, I try to find a nice sheet where you could see what influences HRV. And that, I mean, this says it all. You know, there are lifestyle factors, non-modifiable factors, environmental factors, pathological factors, physiological factors, neurological, neurocortical, I don't even know what it is, and neurophysiological factors. So many factors determine your HRV. And I found this also this graph that you see that as you get older, the average HRV is going down anyway, and the bandwidth is becoming smaller as you get older. If you compare someone of 60 and 20. So, oh yeah, so here, this is another interesting thing. And then if you look at training peaks, then you see that they treat HRV as a kind of linear indicator for when to train or not. These are graphs straight from Training Peaks. So they say, hey, you know, if your HRV is a bit lower, you're tired, and if it's if it gets higher, then you're okay. So in the presentation I prepared for today, this is kind of the turning point, because now we have the video of Dr. Benjamin Levine, and I wanted to share that with you too, because that places everything in context, in a good context. Because what he says is, from all the research he did, that there are two main influencers that have a huge impact on your HRV. And that is at the moment of testing, at the moment of measuring, simply your respiration, breathing, the intensity and the frequency, and that leads to a respiratory variability. And what he also states is the slightest movement, the slightest movement, just like that, having a full or an empty stomach, when you're sitting or lying or even talking to someone, changes your HRV, and not just a little bit, it changes dramatically. And this is interesting because what he says, in a clinical setting where they do their research, he states that even in a clinical setting, the HRV variability itself of the reading is plus or minus 25%. And basically what he says here means that you can never conclude the way Training Peaks driven by Garmin, and then say, hey, your HRV is a bit down, you have to go, you have to rest or whatever, because this variability in his clinical setting, where people are lying down and, you know, having a fixed set of parameters, it's already 25 plus or minus 25%, which means a bandwidth of 50%. All right, now I'm going to show you a video, a couple of parts of it, and I hope you can hear it. I haven't tested that. So let me check it here. Did you hear his voice when I played it?
We spent decades and published probably 100 papers about cardiovascular variability. So first, let's ask, what is heart rate variability? So heart rate variability looks at the change in heart rate over time. And there are two, this is grossly simplifying, but there are two main stimuli to heart rate variability. Number one is respiration, breathing. When you breathe, there are two things that happen. Your brain is sending signals to your diaphragm to breathe. The nerve that carries those signals also goes to the heart. That's the vagus nerve. There are also changes in blood pressure and stroke volume that occur as you breathe, because when you breathe in, you're decreasing intrathoracic pressure, blood flows into the heart. When you breathe out, the blood comes out of the heart. So you're changing stroke volume, you're stimulating the arterial baroreceptors, which are in the carotid arteries and in the arch of your aorta. So there are a number of things that happen when you breathe that move blood in and out of the heart and also send neural activity from the brain to the pacemaker of the heart. That's the respiratory. That happens at the respiratory rate. Then there are other intrinsic rhythms within the circulation. They happen a little bit slower. If you think in terms of cycles per second, hertz, 0.1 hertz or 10 cycles a second is the low frequency microwave frequency. And if I were to measure sympathetic nerves, the Meyer frequency is mostly sympathetically driven. Not entirely, it's sympathetic and vagally driven. So the problem is that all measures of heart rate variability, it's a heart rate monitor, do not take those into account. So if I told you to breathe at 6 breaths a minute, I would slam the high frequency on top of the low frequency rhythm, and I would markedly increase your heart rate variability. If I had you breathe a little bit faster, I would separate those out. And most of the heart rate variability that's being measured by your heart rate devices, most of the heart rate variability that's being measured by your heart rate devices is mostly looking at the high frequency variability. But that is absolutely dependent on respiratory rate, and nobody controls that, right? You're not given a tone that tells you, you breathe at this frequency and we'll measure your heart rate variability. No, it's not doing that. And then I'm going to add one more, that as you move around, very low frequency rhythms will alter heart rate. So when you stand up, heart rate goes up. When you lie down, heart rate goes down. When you pee, you have vagal withdrawals, when you pee. So your heart rate goes up when you pee. When you talk to somebody, your heart rate goes up. These are uncontrolled factors. In my laboratory, if I control every single factor, so same time of day, same food in the body, same, I control how deep and how fast you breathe, I can't get better than plus or minus 25% day-to-day variability. So I'm just telling you that even under the best of circumstances, these measurements are very technique dependent and very variable. So I don't think people should use them as an indicator of anything, because I think it's the science is not there. You can read lots of articles about heart rate variability. I was the thesis advisor and opponent for one of my good friend Heikki Rusko from Finland, from Evasculus students, who tried a lot to look at heart rate variability as an indicator of training and overtraining. And it's just too hard to standardize and get right. So I think if you try to use that, except under extraordinarily controlled conditions, I think you'd find, I think that you'll find you'll make more mistakes than.
Well, that goes with what my gut was telling me, because with my training, I can see improvements in resting heart rate.
Wow. Right. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with you. So that this highly experienced doctor who's working with only with athletes and top athletes and teams. He basically says, well, HRV just on its own can never be really an indicator as suggested by programs like Training Peaks. Like, okay, it's going a little bit down, you have to rest now. It's going a little bit up, you can and train. So that was my 2 cents on this topic. Let me see if there's anything. Yeah, he also says instead a much better way of measuring fatigue is, let me show you that too, because that's interesting too. He says he comes with a very, very simple, almost old-fashioned way. What is a much better way of testing your fatigue? Okay, let me share it for last time. Then here, there we go.
I think that people who are not coached, or who have a coach that's perhaps a bit more inexperienced, they get driven to do more and more and more, and they find that they're not getting better, and that's probably because they're not having adequate recovery. And one of the things we did in all our altitude training studies, spent more than a decade studying the best way to do altitude training for USA Track and Field, US Olympic Committee, is to monitor early morning heart rate. That was our best indicator. So we'd have the athletes put their heart rate monitor on, set an alarm, put their heart rate monitor on. If you've got a watch at rest, it's pretty accurate. During exercise, the watches that just use the PPG, the plethysmogram, are not accurate. That's a whole nother discussion that we should talk about. But put it on at rest and track it go back to sleep and see what it was for those 5 minutes before you woke up again. And as you start to get overtrained, that resting heart rate starts to climb. And that's a signal that, okay, I need to reduce the frequency of my intensity sessions, I need to make them a little shorter, or I need to make sure that I'm adding adequate recovery and take a day off.
Yeah, so that's a great alternative for measuring, which basically is easier. So, well, I found, of course, much more information on the HRV topic. So basically, that's it. That's what I wanted to kind of give you as base information about HRV. I'm sure you will have questions. So it may be a bit disturbing, this conclusion of this doctor, because we know, Marlies and I know of many people who lead themselves today with the HRV indicator of the Garmin watch or their app that uses this. But yeah, this is quite a different conclusion. Please go ahead, anyone.
Well, I'll put in my half a cent opinion.
Yes, please.
I started doing the HRV about 10 years ago. So I can see the numbers over a long period of time. And it does seem to be very repeatable. It's just personal. I don't compare it to anybody else's numbers, but I can just compare my own numbers day to day. The interesting thing with the app that I'm using is that they do want to control your breathing. They do want to control your position. They do want to control the time of day. They do want to control all of these things. So much so that it actually takes a video of your face while you're doing it. And it's a 4.5 minute test period. And they also provide a sound and a visual on your phone so that you are breathing in a very specific pattern. So I think, people are very much aware of these weaknesses, that it's only as good as as the reading that you're taking. And of course, if you are not being consistent, you can't really get a good reading. But the other thing these people do, which I don't know that anybody else is talking about it, is they give you a reading from 0 to 10 of the balance between parasympathetic and sympathetic. So they'll say, for example, I'm getting a reading of 5 out of 10, which shows that, hey, your parasympathetic is completely off balance. Or they'll give me a 10 out of 10 and they'll say, you're completely in balance today. And that seems to be almost more important than the HRV reading, is to say you're in balance or out of balance. So it's just I think there is a lot of research, and I think there is some information that can be gathered from it. And I understand perfectly what he's saying. Plus or minus 25%. If your reading was only plus or minus 25%, that's pretty much useless, because that's such a huge error that's going to accommodate a change from day to day. I mean, my change between a good reading and a bad reading from day to day is probably of the order of 20%.
Yeah, Brian, if I may respond, I think first of all you have an app, and second you are more or less simulating the clinical environment the doctor is talking about. And I think that's already such a big improvement, what you're doing, and then you're comparing it with yourself. Um, the other hand is what Garmin and these Training Peaks kind of apps seem to be doing, which is just making readings from your wrist and then making conclusions. And then I fully agree with what this researcher says, like, hey, it's such a big difference. And I think it's interesting, the app you have, that they really have, that you have to count your breathings and things, because according to this doctor, already your breathing makes such a big change on your HRV that it's basically making the conclusions useless if you're breathing in a different pattern. What the guy explained with all the sympathetic and all the kind of systems that are changed because of it. So I think what you do with an app, can you share the app in the,
Yeah, sure.
and then
Yeah, I mean, he's come a long way
hmm,
with the app over the last 10 plus years.
yeah,
And there's all kinds of podcasts and very, very informative information there, as to what it is that they're doing. But for example, when I take they want you to take what is called a morning readiness test. And basically, you get up in the morning, you don't even have a cup of coffee, and you just sit in the same place or lie in the same place under exactly the same conditions. It's probably the first 30 minutes of waking up. So it's pretty set. So they're quite definite about what gives you a good reading and what doesn't. And of course you need to have a good heart rate belt. They even test the belts, and they'll say, well, this belt is no good, this belt is good,
right,
because it has to be very accurate to measure these very small variations.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, in what this guy says, I think you're saying all the right things, that you need to have the good monitoring, and you have to need a good belt. You need a good belt and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, Brian, when but from what you said, then the alternative, of course, is that what he also suggests that you just measure and that you know your wake up heart rate, just the heart rate, so not the HRV, but just the heart rate. Let's say it's 52 when I wake up, and I know by experience that when I overtrain and when I train a lot, the next day my heart rate is higher. So but I mean, that's so simple. That's so straightforward. Even
Yeah,
5 heartbeats higher.
yeah, and I mean, I used to do that every day just for fun as well. And the moment I'm getting a cold or getting sick, it's elevated.
Yes,
Yeah, it's very interesting. But
right.
I think doing many things is probably better. I mean, of course, what they also say is you can get information overload. So too much information, too little information. But I mean, I was talking to you last time and I was saying, well, how do you know when you're lazy or when you are really tired? How
Right.
do you know when you should step out the door, you shouldn't step out the door? So so this is just an extra device or so, And I mean, for me, often if it says, okay, HRV is good, your balance is good, go for it. It says you should be having a good training day today. Then I feel more motivated. I go out and most of the time I go, hey, yeah, it's okay. I'm doing okay today.
Yeah.
So that's just my subjective 2 cents, if you like.
Yeah. Well,
So when you,
thank you for that, Brian. Yes, please.
it's me, Dave. So when you guys mentioned that you noticed if you had a hard day working out the day before, your resting heart rate seems to increase. And from that video too, when I saw it initially, the guy mentioned the resting heart rate, and I've seen other people say it also. Um, I don't know how big a difference you should see. And I was an engineer on a smartwatch, and so I know. I mean, it's almost okay. They get signals and stuff, but it's not the greatest signal, and I think sometimes they're almost pulling stuff out of the air as opposed to having anything real and consistent. But that's a whole other thing. But with the initial heart rate, I never know how much is high enough to say, okay, this is I'm training too much. I think in the past I paid more attention to my resting heart rate than I have recently. But when I was paying attention, it was okay. It would change a little bit, but it would maybe go from like 47 to 48, or maybe 47 to 49. Is that enough to say I'm training too much, or is it supposed to go from like 47 to 55? I never know what the deal. And I just look now, my data. And last week I did have a couple of days that was at 46. And yesterday I had a very hard interval session, and this morning it was at 51. So from 46 to 51 is higher. But is that enough?
Yeah, Dave, it's a great question, and I'm now looking at Marlies because she always has another factor that uh, I, I I think what Brian says, and also in general, I think you just can't say just the numbers. But Marlies has always the question uh, when she's working with students, and that's the additional question of how do you feel today?
Yeah. And
And
uh, related to what Brian said, there are a lot of times where I get ready to go for a run, and there are times I just don't feel like it. And I don't know, is it my mind or is it my body? But I just don't feel like it. And here, living in Seattle, it may be just disgusting weather. It's cold and it's raining. It's just not going to be a pleasant experience to go out and go running. But I always go out the door and I figure, okay, I'll give myself a couple of kilometers and see how I feel. And if I'm still not, I'll come back. But I have never come back. I always go out and then I feel pretty good. And I go and I'm fine and I have a great run. So I don't know. It's very difficult for me. Uh, I was thinking of getting at some point I have to get a new watch. my watch doesn't have HRV, but I know Garmin does. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I should get one that has it. But after the research I've done, I don't know if it would really be helpful or not, or just getting a dartboard and throwing the darts at some random numbers and say, oh, I got a good day today or not. The thing that Brian talked about sounded even more interesting. At least they're getting you in
Yes.
a position that tries to have some consistency between the measurements. And also another question that I always have, uh, I like to try to push myself as much as I can, but should you push yourself so far that your resting heart rate does go up too much and then say, okay, now I need to back off? Or like with mine pretty much staying constant, am I pushing hard enough, or is that a good sign that I'm not pushing hard enough?
Yes.
Well, Dave, that's another interesting parameter that you're picking up on. And going back about 25 years ago, this outfit called First Beat, I think Finland, they started looking into all of these things, and I think they were the first before Garmin bought them or bought their technology. And as far as I know, they're the first people to have graded a workout from 1 to 5. And if you, like you said, if you pushed yourself really hard, you came back at the end of the workout, you downloaded your numbers, and you were hitting a 5, that was generally called overreaching. And so they rated every exercise you did in whether you were making progress, making good progress, or overreaching, which would tend to lead to overtraining.
Hmm. You said there was a scale of
So
1 to 10?
To
1 to
5.
5.
Oh, 1 to
And
5.
and
Oh,
and
okay.
and on Garmin, this is called training effect. And because Garmin bought their technology, so it was like if you have a training effect of 1, 1.5, 1.6, you're not really doing anything. 2, well, two's kind of maintaining. 3, yeah, you're making some progress at 3. 3 is very good. 3 to 4. 4 is a very hard training day. And 5, you just did too much. And if you carry on like this, you're going to be in overtraining, and
Yeah.
you're going to be doing something negative rather than positive.
Is it all based on heart rate then, Brian?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
but
they were the very
that's
first.
kind of
They were the very,
strange because
and not only
when
that,
you
and
do strength training and you do very very solid strength training and you go to the max of weight, my heart rate is not that high, but I did
it's
still a very good training.
but Marlies, it's not the how high your heart goes. They were the reason they called first beat. They were the first scientists who analyzed beat to beat. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a difference between beat to beat. It's not what the beat is, what the beat
Yeah,
rate is.
yeah.
And so not only were they able to tell you this kind of thing about overtraining, undertraining, making progress, but they were also able to tell you your VO2 max from the beat to beat. This was amazing. It was amazing
Wow.
research 25 years ago. And as I say, I think that they put out the first white papers, the first research on this. And since then, as I say, I think Garmin have basically bought their technology.
Yes, and yes, George, please. And I wanted to add to this. We as coaches, uh, we also, Marlies and I, have also many different parameters we look at. So if we work at the students, if someone tends to get fatigued and overtrained, I always look at the heart rates on the same kind of intervals I can see where people after some of the sets the highest heart rate they reach. So I know that when people get tired, they have more difficulty reaching easier the higher heart rates. And for Marlies and me, that means they're plateauing. So basically, our whole 9 mile system is against plateauing, because it does, in our view, it doesn't make sense at all to run 4 times per week, 10 miles or more, or whatever. And then you're just plateauing, and then you're just, that's basically what the Tour de France cyclists do, in the third week of the Tour de France, nobody is reaching their highest heart rates anymore as they did in the first weeks. So that's what Marlies and I all the data you give us, that's what we're looking at as well, to see if you are still able to push it. I mean, with Marcella, just started interval training. That gives me all the data that she reaches if she goes out on her interval trainings now. So that's the kind of the level that we keep in mind in case you would get tired and say, hey, I do my trainings, but I just feel tired. And then I look, and then normally it was 172 and now it's 164. Yeah, easy. Then that's also the way we see it. And we call it plateauing, because when you're plateauing, everything goes in a kind of gray area, and you're not making progress anymore. And of course, that's what we try to stay away from. But yeah, so for us, there are lots of variables, and basically that is just for us by being able to get close to the student and know a little bit what the habits are and the way you react and do everything, and then we can conclude to either push it, and then some when the weather is bad, you don't want to go out, like Dave's saying, but still you can push it, and then we try to find solutions that you're able to push it even when there's bad weather. Then you stay inside, and you're what we are doing, Brian, on the home trainer, with the watts and everything. The block training we just discussed is because I'm pretty sure now that you can push it, because you overcome the injury and you have way enough safe space to push it a little bit right now where you are. So yeah, that's the whole picture.
By the way, Dave, with respect to smartwatch technology, I don't know if you were talking about the smartwatch measuring heart rate based on the light technology of the pulse rate on the wrist versus getting the information from a chest belt, because many people are saying that this new technology with a wrist-based pulse is very much haphazard and shouldn't be taken as a very serious piece of information.
Yeah, no, the heart straps are much better, much more accurate, much more consistent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
From when I was working on the smartwatch, and I worked on them for multiple years, we would compare with people running with our smartwatch and with the band, with a heart strap, and just then compare how they were doing. For some people, it was okay. For other people, not so okay. Depending on your skin tone, you may be good or not good. So some people it was fine. I always thought it was more important to be consistent as opposed to the actual number.
Right.
So you
Right.
could see either things are going up or going down, as opposed to saying I have a 155 now. But yeah,
And
you're
actually,
right. Absolutely right. The heart strap is by far superior.
Hey guys, I wanted
and
to give the podium also a little bit to other people if there are any other questions. I know George, I think you had a question, or maybe
Oh,
Rory or
I was just
Marcella.
going to,
Please go ahead.
I was just going to say on the HRV, yeah, and I think you just mentioned it there, Dave. I like the trends, and maybe not the day to day, results, because usually, the trends kind of correlate, to how I'm feeling. If it's low, I usually can identify the factor that made it low. So, I mean, it's kind of redundant, to track this data, but still, just for grins, I still like looking at, not just heart rate, but resting heart rate, but the HRV and the low battery, the battery levels, the body battery, because
Right.
those seem to have. But at the end of the day, when you guys already said it, if there's a disconnect between how I'm really feeling that day versus the data, I go with how I'm really feeling, whether it's to train or not to train. If I'm just feeling like I got to get out there. I'm getting stir crazy. The HRVs might be low, the body battery might be low, but I'll go. But the opposite could be true also. If I'm feeling terrible, I'll just miss a training session.
Yeah, thank you.
I just
really...
throw one more thing about accuracy. This little app that I'm using with the HRV, I don't know how amazing this algorithm is, but at the end of the reading, they even say we found 5 erroneous artifacts and we're cleaning up the reading. So that the algorithm knows that if something's out of whack, maybe it just picked up a funny spike and it shouldn't be added to the average. So I mean, they're getting very sophisticated.
Yeah, if you just share it with me, Brian, I'm going to share it with everybody because it seems very interesting. Yes. Laurie, do you have any questions?
I just have a comment. For the first time in probably many years, I took a good 2 weeks off. I traveled to Spain and I didn't run, I didn't lift, but I walked a lot. And I came back after those 2 weeks, started back running, feeling so much stronger, and like my body had like healed itself from the wear and tear that I've been putting on it for so many years. I don't know that I've ever taken 2 weeks off, maybe like a week. But even going on vacation with my family, I usually sneak in a workout or a run or, a couple times while we're on vacation. But this was like the first time that I literally let my body just reset. And mentally and physically, I think it was so beneficial to me. I didn't really look at my numbers or, because you're on vacation, but I think that was a really positive. Now that I've come back, that was in October. Now that I've come back, I've also added hormone replacement therapy since I'm 55 and have in menopause. So I know that a lot of men on the talk, but with Marlies and the other woman, I feel like just recently in the last month, I added testosterone, which I was just taking orally, but now I'm on a cream. And then with that, and then progesterone and also estrogen cream, I think those have benefited me because hormones was one of the things that affects your HRV. And as women, ours go like this and they go down and you have nothing. I mean, literally my numbers, I've had my numbers checked and they were very, very low, if not zero, basically. So I feel like that and the combination and then doing some NAD injections, which probably isn't like Olympic, quality. You're not supposed to do that, but to heal your mitochondria and all that, I'm feeling great. So that's just my input. But I don't really watch my HRV a whole lot. But yeah, I do. I do kind of look more at my resting heart rate and stuff, but I kind of plan out my days so that I was doing back to back with the different running style and it just wreaks havoc. I feel so much better now that since like, I think it was like July or June or July, I just went back to like 9 mile and 3 mile, three runs a week. And it's just so much better for me.
Well, thank you, Laurie. I know of another lady living very close to me who went through the same. Marlies,
same story, Laurie. Same, totally. With the hormones stuff, walking, just hiking, no running, take a pause, take a break mentally, physically. Great. And I'm not really into the checking the numbers on my device. I sometimes check my rest heart rate. That's a good indicator, I think good enough. and I listen to my body. I just want to know when I go out for a run, like Dave says, sometimes it feels like, not so good the first 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden some magic happens and I feel good. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do it then. And if not, then I just change my plan and take a shortcut or just go for an easy run. And as you feel, as you all know, yeah, so I'm more into how do I feel, and especially in this stage of my life, I think that's a good way to do it and to enjoy still all of the physical stuff that we do, the strength training and the running and cycling, and yeah, when just to be a little bit gentle to my body and accelerate when I did a nice build up and I feel good, and then go for it, because then I know there's so much left in the tank, and I did a nice training beforehand and be nice for my body. And yeah, so I think, yeah, like you said, our way of training, not to get too fatigued, listen to your body, use a little device here and there. Yeah, you can use it all, but don't let it be the main thing, in my opinion. Listen to your body, listen to what your body's trying to tell you. If you had a good night, a good sleep, then you probably are ready to have a good workout. Dinner, good food. My experience going to restaurants is not that good. And if we prepare our own food at home, I feel so much better. So that also has an impact on your performance the next day. For me, it does. So there are more factors. But the hormonal stuff, like you're talking about with the HRV, the testosterone, that's an interesting one. We need to have a call together about that one.
Yeah, that one I just changed. And I mean, ever since I went on it back a year ago, June, I mean, I could not sleep and the insomnia was terrible. So you're always tired. And it's not just from the training, it's a lack of sleep. So it was like a vicious cycle. And so then being able to get a good night's sleep, and your Garmin tells you how well you slept too, right? And that makes such a difference with training. I mean, life-changing. Life-changing.
Yeah, totally agree. Sleep is one out of the three most important things to recover, to reset, to fill your body battery. Yeah, totally agree. So if that's not in order, then your training will definitely be impacted in a negative way. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much,
Marcella.
Lori.
Thank you.
Yes, Marcella, please.
If I heard correctly, so the HRV is the time between one heart beating and the next one, right?
Yes.
So why to have so there should be a 1:1 correlation between the heart beating, right? Or not? So my confusion is if so why using these two concepts, HRV and heart beating, if the correlation should be 1:1? Because heart beating is how many heart beating per minute, and of course that shows the frequency, how much time is between two heart beating. So maybe while I am speaking in this moment, so if you know the heart beating, you don't know if in 1 minute the heart beating is the same. I mean, so the HRV consider the frequency of, maybe I understood. So why you spoke about these two concepts.
Yes, but we can further elaborate on this, Marcella. But you're now what you said at the end. That's correct. So one measure is the micro changes over time, and they call it the variability, right? And that has to do with all the sympathetic, the neurosympathetic systems, and they indicate things. The frequency of the heart rate in general is just the effort. I mean, that's just how hard you're pushing. You're pushing on the 200 meters harder than if you do just a gentle run, right? And so that's a different parameter. But we are talking about the HRV and how that could indicate if you're tired or not. And basically, that's a new thing. Brian says it's already there for 25 years. I didn't know that, but I know for like the last 10 years. And then they apparently have developed apps but why we thought it was a very interesting topic is that because of their people who are taking it too serious in our view. You know, that they just follow Garmin, which is not a hard strap. It's just the reading on the pulse. And they have an algorithm in the Garmin. It's clever, but it's never really accurate. And then they have the measuring. It's not a clinical measuring. It's just the way we're sitting right now. And then you stand up and everything. And they say, hey, my HRV is changing. And that's basically what this doctor is saying. Hey, it doesn't make sense if you do it that way. What Brian told us is already a way better, a better way of measuring. That he has an app that tells you how to measure in identical situations, identical time, identical kind of breathing, and then you may have some, you may take some consequences from that reading. And on the other hand, there are so many other things that determine if you're tired or not, and that's what Marlies and I talk about the whole day. You know, always the balance between how far can we push our students, and then we have all kind of other indicators as well. And then Lori came with the hormonal thing, you know, and that's another thing. That's true, because I noticed, of course, in the past, let's say 3 years with Marlies, how that affects her, I mean, performance and everything. So there are so many variables.
Okay.
All right. Paul, do you have any questions, maybe?
No questions. I do have a Garmin 265, and I got all these stats, you know, HRV stats, beta applications, and, you know, most of them, I really, you know, for HRV, they're telling me I'm balanced, whatever that means. You know, there's some kind of algorithm in there, as you're saying earlier. There's an overnight average, highest 5-minute average. To be honest, I don't know what these mean, but I think I just go by feel. You know, there's some days I feel better, other days I don't. There's some days when I'm running or doing workouts, I feel really strong. Other days I don't. So I can't figure out what causes one or the other to happen. But all I know, I feel like my overall fitness has improved in the past several months. You know, generally I feel better. And I think it's just because of the variability of the workouts, not necessarily just doing one thing and not the other. So I'm still learning with this stuff. And I do agree that the heart rate monitor, at least when I have a heart rate monitor on, it gives me better numbers than when I just go out with the watch.
Yeah,
there's differences. It's definitely much more accurate to have the monitor on. Absolutely. Now, I've never gone to sleep with it. I think that feels kind of excessive, but maybe I'll do that just to see what my nighttime resting rate is. Because yeah. You know, maybe I'll try it just as an experiment to see how that works, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the past, Bas and I, we tried an app, and then you have to put your phone close to your pillow, and then it also measures.
Oh, the sleep quality app.
Something.
Oh yeah, that's my sleep quality. My sleep quality is always bad, according to Garmin. They're saying I'm not sleeping enough, and there's no way I could sleep 8 or 9 hours. I just never do that. But they're constantly telling me I need more sleep. I should take more naps. I don't like the nap during the day, but so there's probably some flaws in the algorithm, but just a lot of data.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we're already past the hour, so Marlies and I really want to keep it within the hour. So I think we have to wrap it up. I wanted to say one thing that reacts to what Laurie said about doing those hikes and those long walks, and I think we will maybe do another call on those hiking days, because we have the same experience, Marlies and I. If we go to the Alps and we walk for a week and we do a bit of running and jogging and speed hiking, we feel amazingly strong. And we have Rob, who isn't there now, Rob McGrath, the skier, who is often here on the calls as well. He has his Boston qualifying marathon this weekend. And a month ago, he went with his wife on a holiday to Scotland. And we said, yeah, you just go ahead, go hiking, whatever you like. And he did. And it was Scotland, already in October. So it was cold, and everything was black and cold and snow and everything. And I think he climbed 6,000 meters. So like 6,000 feet mountains and everything. And he got back and he said, oh boy, I feel so strong. I feel so good. I wish the marathon was like now. It's amazing. So I agree, Laurie, and I know with Marlies we have the same experience. There is something in hiking. There is something in speed hiking, in kind of walking in the mountains, climbing, that makes you extremely strong. Maybe not just the altitude, but I mean in general. So that may be another topic for another call, because it's not the first time we hear that, Laurie, that it is like that. So all right, okay. Frank. Frank is working.
Frank is typing with me.
Oh, he's typing with you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my camera's on the wrong side. That's
all right.
Yeah, Frank, you want to get in touch? Yes, we can. You are on our platform in school?
Yes, but haven't started anything. I've read the book. I need to start like, the fourth grader. I don't know how to measure all the metrics I want to start the training program, but I'm at ground zero and I haven't been able to see how I plug in to have some one-on-one to walk me through that understanding.
All right, so I just made a note. I'll send you an app,
personal message.
Yeah, right. I'll do it right away after the call. Okay.
We make sure we get in touch, Frank. Don't worry.
So will that be just a direct contact, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because there's only so much I can get it from reading it. It's like
sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Frank, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, Laurie, for being on the call again.
Yes.
Great seeing you.
You too.
And yeah, thank you, and see you all on the personal calls. I think you all booked your next calls that we know of, Marlies. So yeah, it was great. It was great evening. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Brian, for all your input. All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.